Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Jay Singh, and I'm the founder of Publication Academy, your online training partner for higher ed career advancement and professional development. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today for this installment of our Career Pathway series, Exiting Academia. Today, we have a fascinating interview with Dr. Pallavi Huldar, who successfully transitioned from completing a PhD in chemical engineering and analytical science into the exciting industry vertical of computational chemistry. So let's get right into it. Over now to our amazing Publication Academy interviewer, Dr. Gertrude Nantra.
Hello everyone, Dr. G. Nantra here, and I'm so excited to have a guest that is across the pond from us, all the way in the UK. Dr. Pallavi, you're so welcome.
Oh, thanks, Gertrude. I'm so excited and happy to be here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, so we were having a few technical difficulties, but we overcame that. But Pallavi, tell us about your educational background and what led you to choose a career outside of academia.
So I studied chemistry. So I am actually originally from India, and I studied chemistry for my undergrad, and then in my postgrad, that also in India, I did. I started getting into simulations, computational chemistry, and that was quite interesting to me. So when time came to do a PhD, I applied abroad, and then I got into University of Manchester with a Marie Curie Fellowship, and then eventually ended up here in Manchester and did my PhD in computational chemistry of polymers. So this is where I am now. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What led you to, because I know you work outside of academia now, what led you after your PhD to choose a career outside of academia?
Well, there were a few factors, like when I was doing my PhD, I met many postdocs during my PhD. And I realized after talking to them that it's like they have been in this postdoc career for years after years, but there are not that many vacancies in academia to go from there. And so many of them, when I spoke to them, I realized they were so frustrated and they felt so stuck.
Mm,
Whereas, on the other hand, when I spoke to people who were already working in industry or careers outside academia, they sounded quite positive and fulfilling. So I started looking into careers outside academia. And
mm,
also, another thing that was, I think that's an important factor for everyone, even though we don't talk about it much, is money. So,
mm,
like postdoc salary, if we compare, at least in the UK, with the industry positions, there is a huge variation. I feel like industry definitely pays better than the postdoc salary on average in the UK. And mostly these, and also the third thing was the opportunities. Like in industry, wherever you start, and once you talk to different people, get into different things, you have so many different kinds of opportunities.
mhm.
So I think this was a mixture of all these factors that made me decide that I want to go work in industry.
Mm. Thank you so much, Pallavi. And I think all of the factors are valid, right? Whether that's money, whether that's finding actual jobs after school, it's all really valid. So, what do you do now? Describe what you do now and what a day to day looks like for you.
So I am a computational chemist. So at the moment, I work for UK Research and Innovations, UKRI. I work, so UKRI is a big organization, and under that there are small organizations which specializes in specific things. So I work in STFC, Science and Technologies Facilities Council. So basically, what I do is day to day, I work on building models of polymers, of surfactants, of molecules, different kinds of molecules. And I work with different companies to solve the problems, day to day problems that they come to us with. So basically, like every day, I just work on models of molecules, look how they behave. My job is to recreate the real system that is there in the lab, inside the computer, and work on it on different problems so that we can feed that back to the experimentalists so that their work is easier and we can solve the common problem together. So yeah, this is my day today.
This is your day to day. Amazing. Computational chemistry. Now, Pallavi, how did you find this job? So I think for a lot of people who want to work outside of academia, it sounds to me from our conversation right now, and from just interacting with you a little bit on LinkedIn for over the years, one of the things I realized is that perhaps you were doing some of what you're doing now in your PhD. Is that true? And did that help with your transition? This is a question that a lot of people have, right? Is how do I move from a PhD into a role outside of academia, especially if the role is not something that you have directly done? So maybe talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so my PhD was also on computational chemistry. So that background definitely helped because this is actually my second role in industry after academia. So, but the thing that I'm working on is, at least the beginning was very closely related to what I did during my PhD. And I think one of the ways which helped me to move through it is when I was in my PhD, I attended like a lot of seminars and group discussions and stuff. And I met up with some of the people that I work with now. So there was quite a bit of networking. And actually, I reached out to them over LinkedIn when I was looking for switching careers, and I sent them my CV and told them what I have done, and kept in touch with them. So this role that I work on now, it didn't appear like suddenly. They told me, yes, if it appears, we'll get in touch with you. Meanwhile, I was working on something else. So yeah, definitely, like, my work background helped, but i had to I had to pick up a lot of skills along the way while
Right.
working and while applying. So yeah, it's a learning curve. Yeah.
Right, right. So you went from being, after your PhD, let's talk about that first role you transitioned into, because you said this is your second role. So let's talk about that first role you transitioned to before we talk about this, because I love the fact that you mentioned, I went to seminars, I met people, they said maybe the role would be available, and through staying in touch. I always tell people, build these networks before you need them. And so by the time you were ready, they had something ready. But let's talk about that first role and how you did that, and maybe go a little bit into the skills. You said you have had to develop some skills after you transition into these roles, the skills you've had to develop.
Yeah. So the first role was nothing to do with my PhD. It was
Oh.
absolutely very different. So the first thing I did was, I was working as a support engineer in in a telecom company, and
Wow.
I got that job straight out of, like, after I finished my PhD, and I thought that, I don't even fit here. I don't know what I'm doing, but I thought, okay, fine. While I'm looking for the job that I want, I need to I need money to feed myself. So
Right, right.
let's do that. And when I went to that job, I realized how different it is from how we work in academia. Academia, I feel like academia sometimes is very isolating, like, especially with PhD. Like, it's your own problem. You have to solve it. If you don't do it well, it's all on you. And and asking for help is a kind of a very alien concept in academia. Like, people judge you if you ask for help, which
Oh,
I
really?
don't understand.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when I moved to industry, I realized that they all worked literally, it worked like a team. Like, you go and ask people if you're stuck, they come to you if they are stuck. And that really helped me to understand, remove that block. We have a mental blockage that we have to solve everything, do everything by ourselves.
Wow.
So that really helped. And I felt like also kind of like, prioritizing. tasks and communicating with your like manager more, who also helps you in prioritizing how you prioritize your tasks, where you put more effort in. And actually they're there to tell you, okay, so this task might take longer, don't worry about it, do this one first, you can talk to this person. So that, and I felt that was very freeing in some way, because then you're not bearing the load of doing everything by yourself. People are there to help you. So
Right.
that definitely helped.
That definitely helped, right? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about transferable skills. I want to talk about the networking too, but let's talk about transferable skills. So, but which first of all, which skills do you think have been useful? Did you already have that have been useful in this role, and which skills have you had to develop for your role?
So many of the technical skills, the role that I'm working on, they overlap. So that definitely helped. And also during PhD, because we do a lot of presentations, so that definitely helps, because at the moment I work with industry, and often we have to present our work and like what we're doing, so that definitely helps. So those are the, and asking questions, being curious. So I guess those are the things that definitely helped, technical and these non-technical skills. The things that I have had to develop, some of them were definitely some technical skills that I needed, because every company or every industry you move to, they have their own set of software that they use that you need to learn, or
Right.
some sort of ways in which they work. Like maybe some people, they use some sort of shared things where you check with your tasks and everything. So these are some of the technical things that I had to learn. And in terms of non technical things, what I had to learn, I'm still learning, is actually knowing the key people to contact and actually going and talking to them. For example, like there are lots of work that goes on in industry, which is, even if you work in a company, you're not just talking to the department you're working in, you're talking interdepartmental. Even sometimes, and they have completely different roles, but you have to talk to them because of some of the work that you're doing. So how
Right.
you approach them, how you carry the conversation, how you actually like try and build the conversation towards what you want. So these are some of the things that I'm learning. Thankfully I work in a company where the it's a very positive environment. They help us to grow these things. So I'm very fortunate, I'm very lucky for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So a lot of the technical skills you definitely brought that from your PhD with you. But what I'm hearing is a lot of the more intangible skills of collaboration and communication, right? Those are what we you have to develop in this current role, and I think that's fantastic, right? While we definitely develop some of those, LinkedIn recently, just to highlight this point, LinkedIn recently released a list of most asked for skills within job descriptions. And they noticed that there has been an uptick in these intangible, so-called intangible skills like communication, like, sales, like, the things that you can't really easily quantify or measure. These are the skills that are showing up in so many job descriptions across the board. So, it's really, really important and very interesting that you bring it up, because it's something that you'll realize you have to develop. And to your point about the cross divisional communication, I remember when I joined the company I'm at recently, I had to start doing that. And at first, it sounds like it's not daunting, but it can be really kind of daunting, right? Like, I had to go
Yes.
talk to people I don't know. Like, what do I even say to them? But, it's a skill that it's a skill that how did you overcome that? Like, you don't know these people. Maybe, when you were in academia, it was kind of hard asking for help. How did you overcome that?
Well, thankfully, as I luckily, I have a very supportive manager and quite supportive colleagues. So often I go talk to them, And also, I found out that my company, there is a possibility of getting a mentor. So I sought out a mentor. I go talk to them that, okay, so this is where I feel like I need some help with. So how do I do this? And eventually, up until now, I have found out that people are really nice and they are really willing to help you and talk to
Help.
you in
Yeah.
general.
So true.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's mine. Like for example, even our LinkedIn conversation, Gertrude, with you, like it was so amazing. And thank you so much for helping me because that definitely
Absolutely.
helped me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Like you said, people are willing to help. And this even goes back to your point on networking, right? Like sometimes you'll be feeling, well, I remember when I give talks or, I tell people network, reach out to people. The counter I usually get is, well, I don't have anything to offer them. I don't have anything to give them. Why are they going to pay attention to me when I don't have anything of value to give the other person? And I always say, but people are really willing to help. You just have to, the people that are not willing to help are kind of few. But most people are willing to help if you will venture out and ask. If you don't venture out and ask and just assume that people are not going to help, then you're not going to get the results, right?
True, true.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you talked a little bit about what you do and how you got there. What do you think the hardest part of switching from academia to what you do now was? Having been in that environment for so long and then moving here, was there anything hard about it?
Well, I felt the hardest part was the applications because you have to learn to handle rejections, and there were a lot. So
The job applications, right? Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
and we are doing this for the first time, right? And everybody, when we look around, most people, like people who aren't changing careers at this moment, at this time, you look at your friends and your colleagues and you feel like, oh my god, everybody already knows what they want to do, everybody are already in a career that they like. You feel quite lonely and feel like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this? Why can't I do this? So yeah, I felt that dealing with the job rejections or just rejections, at least in the beginning, it felt very personal, like as if they're rejecting me as a person. But then with time and doing the applications, of course, with the help of my friends and family, they helped me to see that you need to like get attached to the process, not the outcome. So get up in the morning and just apply. If you have an interview, prepare and do the interview. Don't worry about the outcome. As soon as that is done, go to the next one. So
Yes.
for me, I think that was the hardest part because most of us, while we are doing it, we are also unemployed. Like, we need to find something to do. So, like, keeping your morale up while trying to get a side job while doing this. So, I felt that was pretty hard. Yeah.
That was hard. Yeah. Yeah. And, and I like the word of encouragement from your friends, right? Like, get up, just do what you need to do. And, to add to that, I would say that, like you mentioned, that the rejections are really not about you personally. And I think because as academics, PhDs, we our work is critiqued within the academy so harshly. Sometimes we think every critique or every rejection is a rejection of us, but really it's just, something didn't align, or maybe even priorities change. I've been in the biotech industry and seen how they've posted a job description, and a week later, literally, there is a change, an organizational change, a budget change, and all of a sudden that role is no longer available. So it's not, it may have nothing, absolutely nothing to even do with you, but you're taking it personally. And then the other thing you mentioned was doing this while looking for work and looking for a way to support yourself. Yeah, I've been there. So
Yeah.
frustrating, but it does get better. As you can see, both Pallavi and I now can laugh about stuff like this, but it's real. And yeah, thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, are you still involved in academia in any way, and do you think at some point in the future you will be?
Not at the moment. Like I'm not involved in academia at the moment, but in future, I don't know. I might
Yeah.
change and try. I do like teaching, so maybe in the future, if I want to go back to teaching, I might do that. But
Yes.
at the moment, I'm really enjoying my role, and I want to grow here and see like how far and
Yes.
how much. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm quite excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been a great conversation, Palabi. So thank you for sharing all your insights. As we sort of land the plane, what last pieces of advice would you give to somebody who maybe they're finishing a chemistry degree and they're looking at their options outside of academia, and they're wondering, how am I going to get to where Pilabi is?
Oh
what
my God.
what piece of advice would you give that person?
Oh, I'm so bad. Like, I don't feel like I am qualified enough to give advice.
Yes, you are.
um, well, it's not advice. Like, I definitely tell them to like contact the people like alumni who are
Mhm.
already doing different kinds of roles that they are interested in different like companies. If they don't know alumni, LinkedIn has an alumni page under the
Mhm.
university, so you can search there and contact them over LinkedIn. That
Right,
definitely helps.
right.
And also, like when you start doing your applications, you'll realize that academic CV is very different from what kind of CVs industry wants. So talk to people who have been
Mhm.
there and find out CV and practice interviews and everything. And
Yes.
finally, at the end of the day, rejections will come. Don't get attached to the outcome, just to the process, because we all have to go through it. Even like for me as well, like, or anyone who is working now, we can lose our job tomorrow. We again have to go through this. So it's nothing is finalized. So if it has happened for so many people, it will happen for others as well. So good luck.
Yes, thank you so much. Nothing is final. Make sure you network. Make sure you're talking to people, and don't take these rejections personally. Thank you so much, Palabi. So many words of wisdom today. Thank you.